It's the 4th of May, 1471, and somewhere close to here is where one of the bloodiest battles of the Wars of the Roses is about to begin. King Edward IV and his Yorkist army on one side, and Edward, Prince of Wales, and his Lancastrian army on the other. And in the distance, a sanctuary in which the defeated Lancastrian rebels will seek refuge from King Edward's wielding axe. And that sanctuary still stands today. This is Tewkesbury Abbey. The Wars of the Roses was a period of civil wars from 1455 to 1487 to claim control of the English throne. The wars were fought between two rival factions of the royal house of Plantagenet. These were the House of York and the House of Lancaster. The battle here at Tewkesbury was a defining moment in the ongoing conflict. A war that pitched household against household, cousin against cousin. A war that would span decades and become one of this country's most infamous. The real-life Game of Thrones. It was in 1461, after the mental deterioration of King Henry VI, that the Yorkist claimant to the throne, Edward, Earl of March, was proclaimed King Edward IV. After fending off a series of Lancastrian revolts in support of Henry, Henry was imprisoned, and his wife, Margaret of Anjou, and their 13-year-old son, Edward, were exiled to France. The struggle between the fractured royal houses came to heads in 1471, when Margaret and Edward, Prince of Wales, returned from exile in an attempt to reclaim the English throne. En route to their desired destination of Wales, however, the Lancastrian army were met with the force of the Yorkist army, who had travelled through Cheltenham. And it was here, on the 4th of May at Tewkesbury, that battle commenced. What followed was a bloody massacre, which saw Edward slain and the Lancastrian line come to an end. The remaining Lancastrian noblemen and supporters fled to find sanctuary, many fleeing to the safety of the abbey. The abbey's walls did not provide protection for long, however. A couple of days after the battle, the remaining rebels were dragged from the abbey and put to death. The abbey itself had to be reconsecrated a month after the battle, following the violence within its precincts. This oil painting titled Sanctuary is by Richard Burchett. It can be found in the Guildhall Art Gallery in London. Painted in 1867, it depicts Edward IV chasing down Lancastrian fugitives outside Tewkesbury Abbey. The painting feels like a snapshot of the exact moment King Edward is besieged by priests to stop the pursuit of Lancastrian foes who've requested sanctuary at the abbey. The painting is an image of two halves. On the left, with the battle still raging on, and surrounded by the chaos of war, Edward stands defiant, his mission to hunt down the Lancastrian rebels clear to see. The right-hand side of the painting, in contrast, sees a calmer scene. The sanctuary that the abbey offers creates a clear divide of the image. The walls of the abbey creating a barrier and demonstrating to the viewer the safety both the abbey and faith provides. It's no coincidence that both Edward and the priest are depicted at the same level. A continuing battle throughout history between the crown and the church. Edward, although king, has no greater power over the church. The protection it provides seemingly guaranteeing the rebels' safety. Located in the market town of Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire, Tewkesbury Abbey's rich history spans nearly 900 years. Although the building of the present abbey did not start until the early 12th century, Tewkesbury Abbey was first founded in the 11th century by nobleman Robert Fitzhamon. Built to house Benedictine monks, the Norman abbey was near completion when consecrated in 1121. The abbey prospered for many years until the dissolution of the monasteries came in 1540. Henry VIII's break from the Roman Catholic Church put the abbey under threat of disrepair. The townsfolk, however, rallied together and raised the large sum of £453 to buy the parish church and save the abbey from ruin. The exterior of the abbey is impressive enough. Dominating today's skyline, you can only imagine how this imposing structure would have looked centuries ago. It's not until you enter the abbey, however, that its full magnificence can be fully appreciated. With over 900 years of history under one roof, every inch of the abbey has a story to tell, and secrets yet to reveal. The Tomb of the Unknown Knight is one such story that remains a mystery. The style of armour appears to date from the middle of the 14th century. However, the canopy above the tomb is of a much later date. With the arms on the shield not able to be identified with any certainty, this may be one secret the abbey won't give up just yet. The church itself is one of the finest examples of Norman architecture in the country, with its crossing tower regarded as one of the best examples in England. The large columns within the abbey are Norman, and be sure to keep your eyes peeled when looking around to see if you can spot any mason's markings on the stones. The markings are a mason's signature on their work to ensure they were paid for the correct number of stones they worked on. As well as its fine example of medieval and Victorian stained glass windows, Tewkesbury Abbey houses two fine examples of contemporary stained glass designs by artist Tom Denny. Denny is a renowned artist whose work can be found in various cathedrals and churches in the country. The Denny windows were commissioned to celebrate the 900th anniversary of the monks' arrival at the abbey. The theme being the Benedictine motto, "To work is to pray." There are many notable surviving monuments within the church, including a brass plate in the centre of the sanctuary, marking the grave of Edward of Westminster, Prince of Wales, who died at the Battle of Tewkesbury. This is the tomb of Hugh Despenser the Younger. Son of Hugh, Earl of Winchester, he was a favourite of King Edward II. After Edward was overthrown, he was charged with treason and ultimately hanged, drawn and quartered. This chantry chapel was erected about 1430 by Isabella, Countess of Warwick, as a memorial for herself and her two husbands. Upon completion, this chantry was considered the fairest chapel in all of England. The remains of George, Duke of Clarence, brother of King Edward IV and Richard III, are also kept here at Tewkesbury Abbey. His remains, along with his wife, Isabella Neville, are housed in a vault in the only underground section of the abbey. After switching his allegiances several times, George was later convicted of treason against his elder brother Edward IV and executed. Not long after his death, rumours began to spread that he had been drowned in a butt of Malmsey wine. The sacristy door within the abbey is an exciting piece of history. The inner door is covered with horse armour salvaged after the Battle of Tewkesbury in 1471. The door itself even bears the scars of the battle, with a hole on the right side above the horizontal strap caused by an arrow during the conflict. Tewkesbury Abbey has been a centre for worship, prayer and reflection since the 7th century. A structure so grand could easily be seen as imposing or uninviting. But there is a reason why 900 years after its formation, and being threatened with floods, battles, and at times complete destruction, that it still stands strong today. Once a space that tried to provide sanctuary for Lancastrian supporters at the Battle of Tewkesbury, that same sanctuary was rescued by local townsfolk, determined not to see this place of safety in ruins. That same community spirit that rebuilt the abbey can be felt today. A sanctuary for both the community and visitors, regardless of faith or background. A place of peace and safety that will hold strong for centuries to come. If you have liked this video or would like to keep up to date with any other content that I post, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Or please feel free to leave me a comment if you have any suggestions where I should visit in the future. Thank you for watching, and here's to our next trip.